Can't sleep, and you know why. I have discovered the awful truth about my W's affair. I would like to say thank you for taking the time to read my problems in my life along with others on this forum as well. I feel terrible, nervous, and empty inside. But, here we go. My wife and I have been together for 9 years, and married for 4 years. Together we have 2 beautiful girls. Our oldest is 6 years, and our baby is 2 years old. My wife has been the absolute greatest thing that has ever happened to me. She has put up with a lot of our arguments, my negativity, talking back, my disrespect, and calling her a B when we get into heated arguments. In those events she would be the bigger person and grab my hand and tell me I love you, I don't want to fight with you, I'm sorry. She would then give me a kiss and I would give it and tell her I'm sorry in return. I have been a faithful husband throughout our relationship and marriage. I have always told her the absolute truth, even though the truth might get me into an argument or disagreement. She has loved me throughout our time together, and I can understand when a spouse can only take so much. At the end of January, I took on more hours at work. I was extremely exhausted every time I came home. She was the last thing I wanted to deal with. She would want to watch TV, talk, hang out, be intimate as well, but complained every time, in which I myself didn't want to deal with. That same night I came home, I slept in our bed. She slept in our oldest child's bed, and she texted me that she loves me and she misses us. She said she didn't know what was happening to us lately and that she loves me. I read it and didn't text her back. My wife and oldest child are in Girl Scouts. My wife is the leader of my daughter's troop. In the beginning of February, the cookies sales were on for these innocent girls to sell as many cookies as they could. My wife would then be running around delivering cookies, picking up cookies, and made it her primary focus. She would go to school, work at the college part-time, and focus on Girl Scouts. She also mentioned during that month she would go to a college trip to visit different universities, a Friday to Sunday trip. She would almost never be home, or would come home very late. At times, she said she needed to go to certain cities to pick up cookies, and her friend would help her load tons of cookie boxes since he has a truck. During the week, I thought I would be the stubborn husband again, waiting for her to say sorry so we could make up. It didn't happen. I felt her distant and noticed that she would stay the night at her grandmother's house because she would have to wake up early for school and be on time Monday to Thursday. In the middle of that same month, she came home and I didn't make contact with her for about 1 solid week. I would text her I love you, good night almost every single night. She came home and was extremely flirty, in which I gave in. We went upstairs and had what I thought was makeup bonding. After we were done, she still felt distant and I fell for it thinking everything was fine. Yet, again towards the end of the month I was in the same position. Until at the end of February, I came home late at night from a hard day's work. I come home to find the computer on with a flash drive plugged in. I found pictures of the friend and her at a baseball game, and one of my kids and wife at the beach with him not in the picture. My heart dropped to the ground and I called her. She told me that he was just a friend that she knew even before me. She stated she knew the friend back in middle school, that he would know all about our relationship problems we've ever had and is a good friend. For some reason it all started to make sense, but because I loved her I kept the blindfold on. Ever since, I've noticed she would be very protective of her phone and had put a passcode on her iPhone. I also noticed her taking pictures of herself of random poses or just a couple of face shots of her smiling. I thought that was weird since I didn't get any of them like I usually do. In March, things got really tough on me. I confronted her about the friend and she made me feel ridiculous to even think she would be dating him or seeing him other than just being a good friend. I came home at 2:30 in the morning. As I walk in, my heart just drops and tells me get her phone. I never look through her phone, emails, call log, or anything because I have complete trust in her and she does for me. I went upstairs and quietly took her phone and spent 3 hours breaking into it. I finally broke into the phone and my dear friend S on this forum. I was numb, nervous, broken, and in shock to read all the text messages sent to each other. Pictures of them together, the trips they took during the college visit, the white hotel bedroom with the heart-shaped red flowers on the bed. Although there weren't any nude or revealing pictures, there was somewhere she took a picture of her cleavage and blew him kisses. I learned that on Valentine's Day she was with him and got him a gift. As I read those messages they sent to each other, I read that they had slept with each other unprotected with really graphic text, kissed every time they saw each other, and at times spent the night together. You can imagine what they did when she stayed the night. She also said in the messages that she was happy to have been in contact through email with him since she was unhappy with our marriage, that she always loved him, even after 2 children with me together. I confronted her that same night and respectfully asked to explain herself about all the events that took place. She simply smirked and acted like it didn't even affect her. I would have thought she would beg and pleaded and say sorry. She didn't. I was on my knees begging her to tell me if she loved him and to tell me the absolute truth in those messages. She told me after 3 hours of trying to talk to her that I was reading into those messages more than what they are. She confessed that she had slept with him once before we were married when we had a major breakup, or time apart if you will. She partly owned up to the dirty messages sent to each other, stating that they kissed and played around, but she pulled away and couldn't go through it, which I know it's BS. That same morning I told her that I forgive her and that I would want us to work for our marriage and for the kids' sake. She told me she's just not interested at the moment in repairing anything. I asked if a D was what she was looking for. She reluctantly, after a couple attempts, said yes. I gave up and said I love you enough to set you free, and realized I cannot force someone to be in love with me or stay with me. I lost and felt the world drop on me. I told her this. I told her that I would stop trying to chase her and that I would pull out completely after I handed her the keys to the car for her to leave. I accept defeat for the first time, as she left for school with my kids to have them be dropped off at her grandmother's house. I stood at home thinking where I went wrong. I then switched majority of my passwords and contacted my bank and got another savings account by myself. I transferred all the money and left our account dry. Shortly after, she calls me furiously demanding for me to put the money back into the account. I politely refused and told her I didn't want to fight. I was looking out for my best interest and that I was sorry. She was crying furiously and said, "I'm going to make your life hell." I didn't care. I was numb already. She ditched school to surprisingly meet me at the house and talk about the situation. I told her that I got the closure that I needed and that she wasn't meant for me. She started crying as I followed her upstairs and consoled her. I felt terribly bad. I asked, "Why are you crying?" She stated that she knows I'm a good man and that I'll be a good man to another woman one day and not to her. I fell for the trap and I gave in once again. We were fine all night and the next day, but I couldn't get those burned images and text messages out of my mind. Every time I held her I thought of the picture of them and so forth. My wife told me 2 days after I tried to turn my leaf over. She said that I was smothering her and needed her space. That things just can't go back to the way they were. It takes time, she said. I was upset because her friend was also on her mind and not just me. I dislike the fact that she has to take time to realize what she really loves. I laid with her one night and asked if she is still talking to her friend. She said he texted me how I was doing, and I said that I was fine. She told me, "Do you want me to stop talking to him? I will do that for you." I was upset to know that she couldn't take it upon herself to make that decision instead of me telling her. So I stopped talking to my wife for 3 complete days, and I knew she told me from before that she was going to take the kids to the beach. I just found out that this past Friday she went to the beach with her friend. I told her this morning that I read through all the messages again and convinced myself that I cannot compete the love you have for your so-called friend, that I'm willing to let you go because I cannot win my wife or her love back. She left for church this morning by herself, which I doubt she did. She then blew up my phone stating to put back the money into the account or else she would call the police for me giving her bruises, and that she spoke to an attorney about the money transfers. Scare tactics, I would assume. I texted her back and I was upset. I told her that I forgive her and that I don't hold a grudge against her in any way. I told her wanted to be in good terms for the sake of my children and not interested in fighting. I told her I'm ready to sign and comply with her demands. I told her that I never disrespected our marriage or relationship and have always been the provider to our family. I bought her a brand new home, cars, and everything that a woman would be happy for. I also gave her my love as well. I then told her that I've lost and accept defeat, but win in the end. I'm hopeful that I will find true love again and make my new wife as happy as can be. I love my wife deeply, but she shows signs of confusion. I agree that time apart would be beneficial for her to know what she wants, but wants to spend the money in the account, drive our leased vehicle all over the place, and act like nothing ever happened in front of the kids. She would like to bake the cake and eat it too would be the expression. I need help and don't know what to do. I have no one that I can talk to that can relate and understand. I would like to know if I should pull the trigger and file for D and hope she changes her ways or if it's a tainted marriage. I know she is still in love with me, but has decided to get a feel for something else, especially when some other guy tells a woman the right things in her ear when the couple is having problems. Being tested for STDs is another action I'm planning to take. I forgot to mention that she went to the doctor after they had unprotected bonding, and the doctor mentioned HPV she stated in the text messages to the friend. She then was furious with her friend and asked how many partners he's been with, and now has me worried after the 2 makeup bonding times I had with her. I will look into getting a lawyer and protecting myself. This is all foreign to me and don't know where to start. Thank you for your advice. I'm truly grateful. Comment. 1. Can you get over it? 2. If you can and want your marriage, you have to prevent the affair from continuing. You financing her independence is only facilitating it continuing. 3. If you get past 1 and 2, get counseling. Realize you aren't entitled to be a B or neglectful. Nothing ever justifies infidelity. But if you don't meet your wife's emotional needs, she did, eventually take them somewhere else. Not being hard on you, but sounds like you put up a hostile front before the affair. OP responds. 1. If you're asking if I can get over the affair, yes and no. If she is sincerely honest and remorseful, with a little bit of hard work on both ends and time, I can. But at the same time, I have devoted all my strength, time, and heart to this woman that everywhere I go she's a constant reminder, unfortunately. 2. Thank you for supporting me on that judgment call. I thought I was a complete a-hole by doing such a thing. She even threw it back at me and said that I don't realize what I'm doing to my kids. How that makes sense, I don't know. but I felt that she got a pucker factor because I want finance her independence. 3. You're absolutely right and completely understand. Unfortunately, it took this much for me to realize what a fool I've been to drive my wife away. I'm just afraid to file for D, to be honest. I don't know how to start, what to do, and stressed out. I don't know if I give her time needed would be the right call. Trying to shut the affair down seems like an easy question, but to be honest, I don't know how to. I have cut off and transferred the savings and the money in the checking, and don't plan to return it. I feel like I am handcuffed and can't do anything. Last night we were both home trying to fix the TV with her sister, and she spent some time on her phone. Really protective, which made me think she is still talking to her friend. I have disclosed the affair to the grandmother and my brother-in-law. She has introduced the friend to my sister-in-law and has helped my mother-in-law move some things to storage. It's all jacked up. Her family doesn't want to get into the middle of things and told me that I was a good man but to move on, in simple terms. The friend my wife is currently seeing is not married, no kids, and active in the city co-ed baseball team which he has my wife join to play with him. I've learned in any relationship, at times a person just needs a little break and peace of mind. Something similar to shutting the world off for a little bit because of stress, problems at work, life, and so forth. I guess it happened to be at the wrong time for me. Even today I asked her if she continues to talk to him, and she says yes. But I'll stop talking to him because you want me to. It got under my skin that I told her that I assumed you would drop him and know what's at risk, what more important to you. That's when she said I was smothering her and making her feel claustrophobic. What would you do if you were me? I used to say if she ever cheated on me I would cut that loose so fast. Now, I love her too much and that same scenario is taking place and find it hard to cut it loose. I will be researching D and filing, and hopefully she gets the pucker factor. Should I just stick the 180 list and follow through with it and continue to file? I am not thinking correctly. Even though we are still married, I have respect for my spouse and will not do anything stupid like her until it's actually officially done with. This is something I must do. As far as doing the 180, I read and took a look at that and I failed a couple of times. But I have to start again, especially the only thing I'm fighting is my emotions when she calls, or texts, or when I think she is trying. I'm sorry I sound like a fool, but I will research the D and fill out the docs and present them to my wife. Then I will split the account and end things in a peaceful manner. I hope. I broke down and I cried after I went out with a couple friends and had a couple drinks. I couldn't help it. I had both eyes focused on her and not another woman would steer me away. My wife is really beautiful and very attractive, humble, loving, and just the perfect person, I thought. I've never cheated, lied, nor did I ever disrespect her when we began dating. Loyal as can be, this is such a blow to the heart that I never expected in my dreams. How would you go about all this? Would you file the paperwork so she understands this rude awakening and then tell her if she agrees to those strict conditions? Only then, when those conditions are met, I would stay with her to work them out. I guess it would only make sense, but I guess this is all too sudden that I find it hard to let go. She wasn't taunting me when she said, "Do you want me to stop talking to him? I will do that for you." The way she said it was more of a torn between the guys she has and unsure about what she wants. If that's what I wanted, then she would. Obviously this says she's trying to keep me on the yo-yo effect and satisfy my mind thinking she is not talking to OM. She says she needs her time to think what she wants, but being with OM isn't the time and space I thought she needed. The house is completely in my name along with everything else, e-cars, credit, breadwinner, etc. I do live in California, which is funny you say, to secure the evidence. I came home 2 nights later to find precious pictures removed from the computer along with the dated copy of the evidence on her. Luckily I stored that information on my secret thumb drive in 2 places on the computer and some on my phone. My wife is a smart girl, believe it or not. She tries to think 2 steps ahead. Unfortunately this scenario is not the case. Today I started the 180. It is very hard, but I feel good now. She has called to check on the girls, assuming that I would tell her I miss her or maybe plead with her. I cut the conversation short and to the point, relating to only the girls. I did not respond to the text message she sent saying how is everything. I didn't text cause I don't know if she meant it for the girls, or just in general. I want her to know that I am not going to be there when she calls. It's been pretty hard by it looks like one day down and looking forward for tomorrow to grow a little stronger. She knew this character since middle school, but was never a known issue until she opened up and told me she cheated on me for the very first time before we were married. At that time we separated for about a month or 2 and she came back to me. I thought it was meant to be and felt that she loved me so much to return after all the fights we've been through. I later find out she was with him and had slept with him. The unveiled text message that I broke into recently show that she sent a picture of both of them through email of them back at that time and said, however far, I will always love you. For some reason he seems like the rebound guy that my wife has in the background for some time now, because he makes her feel all the romantic feelings couples do when they first start off. She broke it off at that time with the because she felt that she was in love with me. I never knew I was competing with someone else at that time. I tried and then I stopped and learned to let her go. If she returned, it was meant to be. Sucker I was for not investigating it a little more. I have pleaded with her and asked for marriage counseling, but very stubborn says why. If I don't know if this is what I want. At times I feel that she just doesn't want to give in because the many times we've been through this, and she feels that if she did, we would later find ourselves back to square one. I have asked her to stop seeing the guy and told her that I would give her space. But hanging out with the OM isn't going to help the situation, I told her. She is going to be more confused, and especially when she comes home to me and my daughters. I always have loved a woman's advice, simply because they've been through it and know what they want in a man. I agree on the reminder to step up and use my pair of B. I have today felt a little stronger by not returning her calls or her text messages. I have not texted her good night or that I miss her. My relationship, marriage, was always a loving one. I appeared as a hard ass to everyone else that didn't know me, but the most loving and devoted husband, father a woman can have. Granted, I jacked up by being disrespectful, rude, name-calling, or better yet belittling her, of course not on a routine basis. But no man should at all say or do those things to the person they love the most. I can understand her hurt and disconnect by her applying her love and me thinking she'll make it better and say sorry, foolish me. I have already told her this, and I told her on the positive side. This experience led me to realize the awful mistakes I have done. I have never cheated, lied, physically abused, nor misled her to believe our relationship, marriage, was not taken serious. I have had opportunities to cheat and go out and experience different things from other women, but clearly I lived through co-workers, friends, and family experiences to know it's not worth it. Because I've always thought I could never find a woman like I have at home waiting up late for me to come home and spend time with me happily. She shut down and checked out, thinking I will continue to be this way. I have understood through this awful experience my faults and my mistakes said and done to my wife that I love. It's to the point that if she and I didn't work out and I found someone else, I wouldn't treat the next woman like I did my wife. To me, it's a scaring and emotional experience I wouldn't want to relive again. Trust me, I have expressed my feelings to my wife, which I have read that this is the wrong thing to do with her at this moment. But I have informed her everything that I've said, done, and how I made her say sorry first, stubborn, because I was too macho. She told me, why couldn't you have taken the time to learn this and understand? I told you that one day you'll realize how much I mean to you when I'm actually gone. I believe it began as an emotional affair because of the constant BS from me and shut down. I believe it later turned into a physical affair, especially when the OM is sweet-talking her and telling her everything she wanted to hear from me. These are my thoughts. Would you say they're somewhat accurate? 2 days ago, my wife came home in the morning. I saw her vulnerable and very emotional when she saw me. I felt the connection we had before, but didn't want to give in easily. I fell for the trap again. I grabbed her hand and told her that if she wanted the D, then I would do it because I love her, and that I would want to make her happy and set her free. I then tried to hug her and console her because she felt hurt inside and blamed me for where we stand today. I naturally grabbed her face and rubbed her chin with my thumb, and I looked into her eyes and seen a little shed of light still left. Foolish me to listen to my heart yet again. I kissed her cheek and her forehead and told her I was sorry for acting the way I was, because it was my action and words that caused her to seek another man. We then moved to the office room, which is located downstairs away from our children, to talk some more about the D. Foolish me. I ended trying to grab her hand and began kissing her cheek while I moved closer to her lips. I was desperate and thought maybe if she showed some interest I would then know where she stands. Sure enough, I aroused her enough that she began to kiss me back. I felt the spark for a second, or at least I thought I did. She took her top off and I walked her upstairs to our bedroom holding hands. We then closed the door. When I closed the door behind us, she laid on our bed for me. I looked at her and noticed that she was second-guessing her decision, and I the same. By the time I was laying down watching her trying to love me, I noticed in her eyes and face that she wasn't all there. Being a gentleman, I stopped her and told her it was okay, that I wasn't mad and that I understood. She got off and laid at the end of the bed with pillow covering her face. I'm thinking she might have felt disgusted in herself, guilty, confused, and emotionally jacked up, not knowing what to think of the situation. I got dressed and went to work with the intention not to text or call her, not one bit. She replied later in the afternoon, I'm sorry about earlier, I don't know what to even think or feel. She said. I text her back with I know. I seen it in your face and in your eyes. She then said she was sorry and didn't know what to say. Later that evening she told me that it wouldn't be a good idea to be around me like this morning. I told her I agreed and took it upon myself to vow to the 180 rules. I made a mistake again listening to my heart, but what consequences has she felt when I'm the one continuing to chase? None. I am curious to think what and why she wouldn't be there emotionally when she was trying to love me. Was she thinking of the or was it guilt and felt disgusted inside? Since then I have pulled the plug and made no contact whatsoever. She has attempted to contact me for the children but cut the conversation she tried to drag on to different topics real short and to the point. I am sorry I failed everyone yet again. I thought I would let all of you know what happened. All of your support has been encouraging and positive for me. I thank you all for being with me in this difficult time. Any feedback or continued advice would be appreciated like always, and have my phone near me at all times to hear your comments, good or bad. I was the jerk guy for our relationship. marriage, but not always was I this way. I would do all the gentleman things as well, but the ignoring, my behavior, and neglect is what pushed her to another man. My wife and I have tried after many arguments throughout the years, and I've failed to realize what strain I'm putting on our relationship and marriage, especially her feelings. She has told me she doesn't want to stay and continue like this because she knows things won't change, she says. I've realized wrongs and owned up to them, but it doesn't help. Today was the second day that I would stay on target with the 180 rules, no begging, pleading, and little to no communication. She called me this morning to tell me she was at the courthouse ready to file and asked what I wanted to do. I knew she was at school, so I told her, do what you have to do, and I'll do what I need to do. You'll receive my portion in the mail as well, I said. We argued over the phone for a little while and told me she didn't want to hurt me or go below the belt. I told her that if cheating and disrespecting our marriage was below the belt, then I don't know what is. I asked her if she is 110% sure she wants to file for D. She said yes. I asked why. She stated that this relationship and marriage isn't something she wants to do anymore. She loves me and cares about me, but she is not in love with me, she says. I told her about the special times, kissing, holding hands recently, and holding each other. I told her, you still love me, you don't want to love me anymore, and you don't hurt because there is someone else making it okay for you. She went on to tell me that she's tried too many times to stop the fights, arguments, to make things better for all of us. I can't say no, that's not true, because it is. I told her I have realized my blinded mistakes and that she is worth changing and working for. I asked for marriage counseling and she said it would have been good in the past, but she is not interested in working at it anymore. That now it's not what she wants. She went to say that she can be walked on so many times before she or any woman can get worn out and not want it anymore. She feels like she is at this point. I agree, she is right. She apologized for the damage she and I have caused each other to lead us to this point of what appears to be of no return. I told her I loved her and faithfully continued to do so. She told me to take my focus off of her and focus more on my children, which is true, but hard to dismiss the woman that gave me my children and showed me love. I said, why would I want to dismiss you and move on when I know how you feel about me and waste another person's time when I know the person I want is you? She said, we will always be in contact and living in the same city for our children, and if it happens to be that we end up talking in the future again, so be it. My dearest friends, my wife and I have arranged to sit down and talk tomorrow morning about tying up the loose ends of our marriage and figuring out child support and other important items. She will file and wants me to know and agree on all terms before she submits the paperwork. She said after all the years and time spent, she could not just stick it to me and leave me dry. I know I love her and I know I want my marriage. I can forgive and work on reconciling, but it's a two-way street. Unfortunately, it appears that I will be alone. A part of me tells me that time is the best things for the both of us to realize how much we mean to each other and where our feelings actually lie. Another part of me suggests to go seek a counselor for the lonely pain I will go through alone. It's too unbearable for me. Has anyone ever been in this similar situation? Would she still continue to think of me after the divorce, with little to no contact? Knowing that feelings don't change overnight, how she feels about me, would it be best for time to help sink in what she really wants after the divorce? I am lost and don't know where to start my life again. Majority of my life has been spent with her. I need training wheels again, but where do I buy them? Update of this week. Here it goes. My wife and I sat down this week to go over finances and making arrangements, as she is adamant about divorce. I have expressed and have encouraged my wife that she will do just fine without me. She is a strong-minded, intelligent woman and knows how to handle herself when placed in hard times. During our conversation that lasted from 9 p.m. 3:30 in the morning, we bumped heads, expressed how we both felt, and I finally realized how I have made her feel throughout the years. At one point of the conversation, I felt she had the mighty Great Wall of China so far up that it was unattainable to get to. I asked what caused her to fall out of love with me. She replied, with time. Throughout the years we've been together, we've seen the good times and bad times. When things were good, they were good. When things got bad, they got bad enough to never forget the degrading things said out of emotion, like I don't care, go ahead and leave. She away now, being neglectful, disrespectful, when all I wanted was to spend time with you and for you to love me in return. Her family meant a lot to her as well. Most of the time I never wanted to be around them because I know what they thought of me. Simply knowing that they disliked me put a bad taste in my mouth, to the point where I never wanted to go visit her family or be around. I didn't know how much it would affect her by taking her away from her family unknowingly, being so selfish and self-centered about the way I felt about her family. Very blinded and ignorant I was to dismiss her feelings about her family, although she would tell me the negative things that caused my wife and her family arguments about other things. I would say I didn't want to hear it, just leave them, you don't need them. Foolish me not taking the time to listen to my wife. As I stood listening to her speak her heart out, I felt numb, hurt, ashamed of myself to do this to her, and wished to go back in time to correct the mistakes I've made. Back in 2007 on her birthday, we had slept together. We later found out she was pregnant with our first child. At that time we were broken up, trying to patch things up. I asked her if it wasn't for her being pregnant with our first child would we still be together. She said I don't think so. You've changed throughout the years, she said. But she is right, I have. I am more financially stable, dedicated hard worker to provide for the family, a different outlook on life, and etc. But she says the person I fell in love with is gone. Now I can't help myself but to look in the mirror and feel disgusted into the person she described me to be. I respectively accepted defeat in my head and told her I would comply and give her what she's looking for. I continue to love her and adore her from a distance, while I stay to myself. She also told me that night that she just wanted to be her, be able to go out with her girlfriends and stay out until 4 in the morning, and be able to be just her. She said I've hurt her enough that she can only trust herself and focus on herself. She feels that she will be hurt relying on me or giving me another chance, regardless if I have realized and changed myself for her. In her mind, she feels that it'll be a matter of time before things go back to the way things were. She doesn't want to feel stuck like her mother, friends, and different experiences she has seen through different people, which is understandable. I feel like the best thing to do is to put my hands behind my back and take the bullet, and let her be. The more I chase, the more she runs away from me. I guess after reading and being on this forum I've learned that there is nothing we all can do to stop, change, or convince our loving other half to be with us. I feel deep down in my heart that she still loves me, but she is so caved in that it will take time and space for her to miss me. That's if my heart is right about how it feels. I've made mistakes and the only thing positive I can pull from all this is that I realize how wrong I've been and was able to take the blindfold off. Some friends say it's life, brother, just move on. Some say be patient. Some say work on you and your children now. They are all right, but the brick that's in my mouth is hard to swallow. I don't think love should be this way, nor am I defending myself either. I take responsibility for verbally, emotionally, and mentally hurting my wife. I have created these thoughts, feelings, and decisions regarding divorce for my wife to finally say that's enough. As far as my wife making the decision to be unfaithful to me is unfair and hurtful in a totally different level. But you are correct when you say I would be perfectly content with the way things are, since I would never think she would ever go anywhere nor think I was wrong. Taking the positive out of this negative situation, I'm glad it happened. I would have never realized all the mistakes nor accept the fact that I caused my wife and marriage to fail. I spoke to my wife this morning and she is 200% sure she will file this Wednesday. After 9 years being together I can't even get closure nor answers to questions that have been on my mind. She acts as if I was her enemy and talks to me with little regard. I find this brick hard to swallow, as I have been accustomed to talking to her, relating, sharing thoughts, and being there for each other. I continue to bring up the OM and ask her as she continues to see, talk, or have feelings for him. I know the answers to those questions, but I want to hear it from her mouth. But she says it's not relevant. Thanks for your opinion. I agree with what you said. If you love someone, you shouldn't treat them, talk to them in a negative way, shape, or form. When I told her that she still continues to love me, I feel that after 9 years together, can you really fall out of love that easy to say such a thing without being defensive? I fall out of emotion to say such a thing, but when I expressed that I love her from the day we first met to today, I told her I am still committed to our marriage and respect her. Have I made mistakes? Yes. Have I realized that I hurt my wife and caused her to walk out the door? Yes. I told her today that I would be a loving and supporting partner through this hard time, even though she wants out. The thing that irks me is that she can talk about the D and say I love you, but I am not in love with you with a straight face, to tell me to focus on other things and move on. How do you do that after the bomb just dropped and exploded on my heart? The answer is time, but unfortunately emotions about the situation are felt right now. For some odd reason I feel that she needs this divorce to clear her mind and actually find what she wants. Time will only tell, I guess, but staying focused on myself is so hard when your family, finances, memories are stripped and you're the only one left to repair the damage. I spoke with my wife this morning and we finally came to an agreement on our finances, children, living condition, and etc. regarding our divorce. But before we settled on an agreement, I mentioned the possibility of paying off some debt to make room for the support I will be paying. Then splitting the money in our savings account. She would be using the money to get an apartment and a used vehicle. She freaked out. The two-way street became a one-way highway with a Mack truck heading in my direction. I freaked out and got upset that she shut me down as she walked away. She said she didn't want to deal with me and have the court figure it out. Just to sum it up, I followed her around the house trying to reason with her and she was just not having it. I expressed my frustration and asked why we couldn't negotiate and for her to understand I was concerned about paying the debt off to be able to pay for the support. She then decided it would be best to continue to pack some clothing and to stay at her grandmother's house as staying home wouldn't be ideal. I reasoned and pleaded with her once more, but she held firm and furious. I finally had an emotional breakdown that I've never experienced before. I ran upstairs to our bedroom with a family picture and locked the door. I could not help myself but to cry hysterically and ask myself, why is this happening to me? She ran upstairs and unlocked the door to console me from a distance, but I shut down and didn't want her near me whatsoever. I got up and went to the bathroom and locked the door once more. She tried once again to help me pull myself together, but I wanted her out of my life. I didn't want to look at her nor hear her voice, as doing so would only hurt my heart more. After about 30 minutes to myself, I snapped out of my breakdown and came downstairs to continue to move furniture and threw up the "I give up" flag, something I've never done in my life. I gave up and told her to do what she must do, that I quit. I wanted her out of my life, and I told her I didn't want to talk, text, or see her at all. I said it's my way of coping with this pain of losing my wife, children, not seeing them when I come home, wake up, and etc., finances, and all the hard work we've built throughout the years. It's just devastating to accept. She tried to be encouraging by telling me to be strong for our daughters and to focus on me with a straight face. I told my wife, easy to say and hard to do, especially when you love someone with all your heart. I told her, I hope you're never in my shoes to feel the person you love is calling it quits and ready to move on without you, and you can't do nothing about it. I told my wife, it's extremely hard for me to listen to her when she says she wants to divorce as fast as possible so it doesn't get dragged on. Change her last name and focus on herself and not worry about relying on other people's feelings to be hurt, she says. Have I violated and mistreated her and her feelings? Yes. Do I deserve everything that is happening to me? Yes, I do. Not because of emotional guilt, but more because I was blinded and thought my marriage was fantastic, and the thought that my wife was happy. Boy, I was wrong. I did speak to her about the other man. I told her about the watch she bought and was wearing, which signified what the OM likes and how she feels about him. I told her I hated the watch and etc. I told her everything that was going on between them too. He wasn't considered a friend, especially knowing you're a married woman. She said that besides them being longtime friends, he has strong feelings for my wife and emotionally understands her and gives her, I guess, attention, emotional support, makes her feel good, non-physical I hope, and everything else I lacked in my marriage. However, she says she doesn't feel the same way that he does, unless she is lying and doesn't want to break my heart. She admitted that she had an E at first, then P, which she says she couldn't commit, and told him to stop before it got any further. She feels that by being with her friend and giving him in return this emotional affair fills in the voids of hurt that she is going through or currently feels by having him tell her what she wants to hear. She has also told me that she is trying to flush me out, to get me out of her system. She is in a different stage of an emotional wreck, I believe. Do I approve of the actions? No, but the root of the problem was me driving her to such lengths. Before I left to pick up my daughter from school, I hugged and squeezed my wife one last time. I gave her a kiss on the cheek twice. I also told her that I loved her and that I was sorry for everything, for us being at this point in our lives. I told her that the way I felt when I first fell in love with her is the same feeling I have now. It never changed, it just got stronger. I walked away looking at her face. She appeared hurt inside. I told myself that I would give her the space, time, and the absolute distance away from her to get my emotions out of the emergency room. I asked her if this never worked out and this is truly the end, would she know in her heart that I tried and gave it all I have? She said yes. With all that said, and as days go by, I tend to feel a couple centimeters closer to better. I feel that I have done what I could to save my marriage, show my wife my love for her, and continue to be as supportive as I can be. At this point, I have no choice but to open the door and let time be my friend, and hope we cross paths again someday. My comment, although OP still loved his wife, he had to let her go because of the affair. Have any of you done something similar? Comment down and I got more relationships coming.